Hey everyone. There are games that are just good, games that hook you, and then there are games that change absolutely everything. Today I've put together 10 masterpieces that defined generations, set new standards, and became true living legends in the gaming industry. These aren't just games every self-respecting gamer has to try. They're also games that will devour your time. I won't drag this out. Enjoy the review and let's get started. Days Gone. This former Sony exclusive wasn't liked by critics, but was loved by the players themselves. The difference? The critics just played the game while players finished it completely. The game is super long, and not everyone can make it to the end, but if you do, you'll remember this game for a long time. The main character is biker Deacon John, who's married and loyal to his wife till the end, values friendship, and sticks to his principles. By today's gaming trends, this is already unusual because making a normal main character without agendas, someone you actually want to identify with, well, that's pretty rare now. Plus, the game has an atmospheric open world with its own unique scenes and gameplay features, and the supporting characters are really memorable because of their personalities. The game constantly tries to surprise you with plot twists and new gaming experiences. It's pretty hardcore toward the player, but that just adds realism to the game world. The main character carries very few bullets, and there are tons of enemies. And if you meet a horde of freaks along the way, their version of zombies and the main feature of the game, you'll try to escape from them in terror. Since for the first 30 hours or so, they're extremely difficult to fight. They're fast, there are dozens, if not hundreds of them, and the main character doesn't yet have enough ammo, supplies, and stamina to fight them in the open. Yeah, of course, this game has flaws like any other. But despite all the minuses, the game turned out very soulful and atmospheric. And having completed the game 4 years ago on PS4, I happily bought it again on Steam to play with maximum graphics settings and feel a bit nostalgic. Plus, in many ways, the game is unique with very few similar titles out there. Hollow Knight. After completing this game 100%, I just can't help but recommend it wholeheartedly to absolutely everyone. It seems the only one from the entire team of game creators who did a poor job was the PR person. Just a couple of reviews on Metacritic from obscure publications. But meanwhile, friends, this is an extremely rare example of a game you can, and should, confidently give all 10s to. Because there's really nothing to criticize here, and honestly, you don't want to find fault with it. You can break down the game into components or look at it as a whole. It doesn't matter. The level of quality, detail, and attention to detail is just off the charts, especially considering how small the team working on the game was. Hollow Knight has everything you could possibly want. Gorgeous visuals, divine music, excellent gameplay, and all its components. At times, the game is a real challenge. An interesting, engaging world with memorable and often deceptively cute characters. An epic final boss, battling whom brings to mind God of War for some reason. A map that's as open as possible within the genre with minimal handholding. But the main thing is, despite constantly expecting a letdown, the game never once disappointed me. If someone asked me what should be changed in the game, I'd shout, "Leave everything as is and don't touch anything." For me, this is definitely the game of 2017, and one of the best Metroidvania games ever, so friends, forget about the bunch of overhyped AAA games and play one of the coolest Metroidvanias in history instead. Especially since it costs mere pennies these days. Reka. Everything about this game is absolutely wonderful. The amazing atmosphere of Slavic fairy tales, where you're either the hero or the villain. It all depends on what experience you want to get in the end. Personally, I'm taking the path of protecting the old gods and nature. The soundtracks in this game are also beautiful. I'd love to hear more of these pleasant melodies in future updates, so special thanks to the sound designers. The building mode is just something else entirely. I don't even remember when I was last so engrossed in the process of setting up a home in a game. The amount of furniture, interior items, and tiny details will amaze even the most sophisticated imagination. I searched for trinkets for my hut with great interest. I spent the lion's share of my time in the game just setting up my little nest. But that doesn't mean there's nothing else to do in the game. Once I finished building, I was able to immerse myself even deeper in this world and get unforgettable emotions from everything happening around. The world in Reka is thought out to the smallest detail, and you can feel it from the first minutes of gameplay. The developers definitely put their whole soul into the game. That's why bugs and some minor flaws don't interfere with enjoying the gameplay. And I'm sure in future updates, all the rough edges will be fixed. I just want to support this ambitious project and wish further development to the small indie studio. Thank you, developers, for your hard work. Uncharted 4. This game is exactly the case when you don't regret a single cent spent on the purchase. The game is excellent in every way. Plot, gameplay, characters, everything here is made with quality and heart. After completion, it leaves a pleasant and lasting aftertaste. Like you've watched a gorgeous Hollywood adventure action movie, so the plot will definitely appeal to fans of Lara Croft and Indiana Jones. Visually, the game is above all praise. Uncharted is simply a feast for the eyes. Nathan in his adventures manages to visit snowy Scotland and travel to the extremely picturesque island of Madagascar. And the contrast of landscapes in the game is just incredible. I have no questions about the graphic design and optimization. Everything is bright, detailed, contrasty. In general, beautiful and high quality. For me, this game became exactly the project that rightfully deserves the title of a full-fledged work of art, not just an ordinary throwaway game. Uncharted is an example of a benchmark adventure action game. Once people bought PlayStation 4 just for this game, and it was definitely worth it back then. I absolutely recommend playing through it, though probably there aren't many people left who haven't played it by now. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. The best game in the Warhammer 40k universe. Everything about it is perfect, friends, down to the smallest details. The Space Marine feels like a Space Marine. This isn't just an ordinary dummy, but a huge genetically modified guy in heavy MK10 armor, who moves with a heavy but confident stride. The chainsword feels exactly as you imagine it when reading the books. Huge, crushing everything in its path, spilling rivers of blood. The bolter doesn't fire ordinary bullets, but reactive ones, and you can feel it both in the recoil and the impact. The developers literally managed to make all the mechanics exactly as they should be. Landing on the Tyranid planet feels literally like in the book, only more colorful, more vivid, and you can bathe in Xenos blood with your own hands. This is truly the best co-op shooter I've played this year. For downsides, I'd note the very questionable balance in PvP, the lack of photo mode in co-op, and the fact that after 5 hours of continuous play, my RTX 4070 lost half its frames and you could fry an egg on the processor. But the developers promised an optimization patch, so we're waiting. I don't see a reason to be negative yet, the game is quite fresh. I recommend everyone try this experience for themselves. You might like it so much that you'll want to live in this game, or it might anger and frustrate you with its difficulty, or it might even scare you off with its seas of blood. But it won't leave anyone indifferent. The best co-op in recent times, a game that respects the player's time and delivers concentrated enjoyment. Enshrouded. I decided to play this game because of the large number of positive reviews, and they totally justified themselves. This game really appealed to me. Initially, I didn't have high hopes for it, as I've tried many co-op survival games, and often they were just throwaway trash. But this game knows how to keep your interest, and the further you play, the more interesting it becomes, which is a huge plus, since often it's actually the opposite. Looking for gold, I discovered a diamond on Steam. Here you'll find crafting, survival, battles with monsters, interesting quests, and skill development. You can become, for example, an archer, and at the same time have a staff and a two-handed axe in your arsenal. There are no restrictions in this game. Especially in multiplayer with friends, the game fully reveals itself. It's pointless to tell details about the mechanics. It's better to immerse yourself in Enshrouded and explore this mysterious, beautiful world yourself. I'm pleasantly surprised that even in early access, the game has drawn me in so much. And by the way, I was also surprised by the game's optimization. For early access, it's very well optimized. In general, friends, the game has great potential and a good future. I'm absolutely sure of this. And I'm waiting for updates to continue playing with new content. Do I recommend this game? Well, if you like combat, exploring the world, leveling up your character, going on raids with friends, engaging in crafting, then yes, I definitely recommend it. Doom 2016. Blood, guts, and tears slowly drip down your boots. Demons hide in corners like cockroaches when you turn on the light. Legends are told about the Doom guy even in hell. No warrior is more furious and merciless, and there is no force to stop him. Even the eyeless servants of hell cry when he appears. and those without mouths scream in terror and call for help. Doom from 2016 is, first and foremost, excellent instinctive gameplay. Fast and furious, it really allows you to immerse yourself in times long past, and reminds of the original from the 90s. Enemies appear in droves along the way, and disappear just as quickly. You can tear them to pieces and turn them into bloody confetti, just like in the good old days. The levels are well developed and interesting, especially at the beginning of the campaign, and we need to exterminate the same old familiar enemies. Apparently they didn't get enough and came back for more. Yes, this game has its downsides, and quite a few, but grudgingly I'm willing to eat that and shut up, because the process of exterminating the baddies is damn fun, and it happens under Mick Gordon's delightful soundtracks. This is the perfect music for exterminating demons with a piece of rebar that happened to be at hand. For this brutal bloodbath under heavy quality rock, I forgive Doom 2016 almost everything. This is the best high-octane, blood-pumping shooter I've played. And, in general, everything I told you about Doom 2016 can also apply to the next part, Doom Eternal, so try both these parts. Horizon Zero Dawn. The graphics in the game at the time of its release were phenomenal. The proprietary Decima engine delivers an incredibly juicy picture, has good optimization, beautiful volumetric light, draw distance, and rich shadows. The landscapes, robots, and especially nature look simply masterful. When the game was first announced only for PlayStation 4, I was simply amazed by the mix of primitiveness and futurism it combined. And there was a huge desire to try it, but the lack of a console forced me to put this idea on the back burner. Now, years later, having played it, I can say for sure that the developers from Guerrilla Games created an incredibly fantastic setting. And thanks to this, the atmosphere too. Nature harmonizes perfectly with wandering robots in the distance, and bunkers and ancient human structures captivate from the first minute, making you want to quickly uncover the secrets of this mysterious world. Horizon Zero Dawn is definitely one of the most beautiful and technological games of its time. Exquisite graphics, a bright main character, a very fascinating lore and plot, as well as in some aspects a unique combat system, can draw you into this whirlwind of events head first until the very end. Alan Wake 2. Probably one of the most ambiguous games of 2023. Some found it suffocating and uninteresting, while others were captivated by the continuation of Alan Wake's journey in his own book. I 100% belong to the second type of people. I'll try to briefly go through all aspects. Graphics. Well, there's no need to explain, friends. Graphically, the game is simply at the highest level. Remedy's proprietary Northlight engine performs some kind of miracles. Plot. Both the plot itself and its delivery through various mechanics are excellent here. The only thing you could nitpick a bit is some stretching. In places, such delivery might suffocate someone, but that's exclusively subjective. Gameplay. There are enough mechanics and they're diverse. Yes, many complain about the meaninglessness of the clue board for the main characters, saying everything in the game is already clear, but it seems to me this is done more for immersion in the game world itself. Without the board, it's quite difficult to navigate such a complexly constructed plot, especially for those who play a couple of hours a day. Not everyone has phenomenal memory, and the board helps remember what's what, and moves the player further along the plot. In general, if you passionately love Remedy games, all this ultimately leads us to Alan Wake 2, a game in which characters and references from other projects by this studio are intertwined. All these years the Finns were heading toward this game, and they made it amazing. I really hope that in the future we'll play more new games from these guys. The Last of Us Part 2. First, a few words about the visual component, because this deserves some attention. The design, locations, detailing, simply masterful. Throughout the game, I kept admiring the elaboration of the environment and its realism. And now, let's talk a bit about the plot. Of course, a huge number of fans of the first part didn't like the continuation. The second part simply didn't match expectations. I think unlike the first, this game narrates and focuses attention not on the old, beloved characters, but on the situation in the world in general, allowing the player to evaluate it objectively. That's why I liked playing as both sides, because only by knowing the whole story will the player understand. There are no bad guys or good guys here, no villains or heroes. This is real life, and it's gray, unpredictable, and very unfair. The plot shows us the entire human essence from different sides, be it blinding thirst for revenge, anger and despair, the impossibility of fixing the past and one's own mistakes. At the end, the game naturally leaves a bitter aftertaste. And I suppose many weren't counting on such a finale, but the game doesn't become worse because of this in any way. I perceive The Last of Us as an artistic work, not as a game. Essentially, you're in an interactive film where human drama is presented to you in game form. Deep, atmospheric drama. If you didn't connect with the game, play through it again. Stop treating it as a simple game, as entertainment. Before you is a true lyrical masterpiece. And that's all the games for today. But of course, there are many more masterpieces that change the gaming industry and can devour your time, so you can write your suggestions in the comments. This way, you'll help me create future videos and maybe help other viewers find something interesting for pleasant gaming. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you're here for the first time so you don't miss anything interesting. Thanks to everyone for your attention, friends, and see you in the next collections.